Hey there, you're listening to the EmpowerTech Podcast with Iyari Cevallos. This podcast is where we discuss all things tech and explore the growing ways in how we can leverage technology to lead smart, sustainable, and impactful lives. Today we're speaking to Inbal Rodnay. She's a renowned technology adoption expert specialising in AI applications for professional services firms. She runs a 30 Days to AI program for accounting firms, as well as AI coaching for executives. Inbal is formerly Head of Technology Innovation at Melbourne-based professional services firm Blue Rock. She's a finalist AI Leader of the Year in the AI Awards and Innovator of the Year in the Women in Finance Awards. We're really excited to speak to Inbal today. Let's let her in. Inbal, I'm really excited to have you on the podcast today to talk to you about technology and embracing it. So let's get started.
Let's do it.
Why is it important to be open to new technology, Inbal?
What a question to get us started. Why is it important? Because I always take it for granted, right? All right, let's think about that. Why is it important to keep open to new technologies? I think if we look back at history, or maybe before I answer, I'll say, I don't think let's think about how much open you need to be.
Yeah, really good point. Really good point.
So if we look at history, we'll see how new technologies changed how we work and changed how we live. And those of us that didn't join in many professions were left behind, right? So if we look in our lifetime, people moved from paper-based office work to computer-based office work. And no one's thinking now that that it's okay to run an accounting firm or any professional services firm or any engineering firm without computers, doing it on paper, right? And then we moved from desktop to cloud in most industries. And we needed to move with that because it gave us new capabilities and superpowers. And we became able to do things faster and do new things that we could not have done before. Mm-hmm. And we could go into some examples if you want.
Yeah, examples would be great because I think some people are like, cloud, what does that mean?
Yeah, if you think about an architect that worked on paper and did the drawings, and then computers and the internet, and now they can create 3D immersive visual walkthroughs of the houses of their dreams, which they could not have done before, right? There's all sorts of examples like that. So it is important, obviously, and I think it's obvious that it is important to be open to new technologies and adopt them and get used to new ways of doing things, acknowledging that often it's uncomfortable and there's fear involved. We're all feeling these bouts of fear and overwhelm with AI now that can do everything we can do, and all of those really important. But I don't think that means that we need to jump on every new technology as it comes out.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah, we need to be aware of it.
Inbal, thank goodness, because I cannot keep up.
And we don't want to keep up, because if you keep up with all the latest and greatest, like if you're a real early adopter, you'll be doing a lot of things. First of all, you'll be very distracted, but also most of the new things that come out, if you look at AI now and all the different AI-enabled apps that come up now, most of them do not survive and will not survive. So it's noise. We don't want that. A lot of people who built AI solutions months after ChatGPT was exploded into our lives, so early 2023, it came in late 2022, built all sorts of solutions that we don't need now because the capabilities come into the tools themselves. So we don't want to be the super early adopter, bleeding edge. Some people will do that, but for the majority of us, we just want to be part of the early majority. We don't necessarily need to be the early adopters. But we definitely don't want to be the laggards. We want to be somewhere in the early majority group when things become mainstream and it becomes quite clear which apps are here to stay and which ways of working are now becoming the way to work. Then, yeah, we need to adopt that.
That's fair.
We need to be part of that.
And look, Inbal, when you describe it like that, you, I guess, make me realise that we are the testing bed for some of these things that come out. So the general public sometimes is the testing bed for what is good and bad, and then after that, the things that seem to have the most value are the ones that then, you're saying we should sort of start to look at embedding, right? So ChatGPT, is something that's gotten a lot of media coverage. And I really do feel like at this point, like we were experimented on in some way to see what worked. And now they're kind of getting these finessed products that do lots of things that people are really engaging with. So I really like the way that you described the kind of different phases of adoption there for just in general.
And when you say we were experimented on, which sounds a bit ominous, but I don't think that we know yet how we're still in very early stage, right? The idea of AI, generative AI being in this chatbot that I go in and I ask questions and I come back to where I work and I copy and paste and I go again is very, very early days and very temporary. I think we know or we believe that these generative AI capabilities are going to come into all the tools that we're working with. So into my documents, into my email, into everything I'm working on. And just a couple of days before we're recording this episode, we had the first release of one of those generative AI engines from Claude that is on the desktop and will be able to see what I'm doing and do things for me on the desktop. And this is early days too. So in a year or two, I have no idea. It will be maybe by the time this airs, this is going so fast. We will have generative AI everywhere we work, and it will understand our world.
Yeah.
So we don't know yet what it's going to be like. It's not there.
Because I did hear, Copilot's another one that's like that, isn't it? That works on the
Copilot,
desktop.
Microsoft Copilot, and anything I'll say now will outdate very quickly. But Microsoft Copilot is a family of tools that live in Word and Excel and PowerPoint and in dozens of other Microsoft tools, and it does two things. It's generative AI, and it helps interact with the tool. So how do I create me a diagram that shows blah, organize this information in that way. So it helps me to use the tool, so I don't need to use the menus, right? And it helps me interact with the data. So if it's a Word document, summarize it or expand on this paragraph or rewrite this phrase. Or if it's a spreadsheet, analyze the sales by month, by product, whatever, right? So I can interact with the data, or I can use the software, which means that I can start using tools that maybe there was more of a barrier for entry before, like data analytics tools. But now there's a Copilot that helps me, and I don't need to understand all the details of how to use this complex tool. When you say, and there'll be more, we don't know yet which one's going to be the winner or which ones. But when you say we've been experimented on, what I'm thinking is we've actually had the opportunity to upskill ourselves on these tools. And because it's a new way of thinking and working, a lot of us still notice that we're using ChatGPT or Copilot or whatever generative AI in the same way that we use Google. We sort of phrase things with keywords, and we'll go through this. And I don't know about you, but I remember starting to use Google some years ago and learning how to Google, like how to use keywords properly.
Yeah, what is this box doing for me? Yeah, what words do I need to punch in?
And if I use more academic language, I'm actually going to get different results. So if I'm going to get academic article, we learned how to do this, right? So we now all have the opportunity to learn how to use this new technology.
I really like that. I have heard of prompt engineering as a potential role of the future. But the very basics of what you're talking about is how to use what is available to work out what it gives me, what results it gives me in terms of how I use it, and therefore evolve with how the technology evolves over time, right? That's what you're talking about there. And
if I can say one thing about prompt engineering, to anyone in here listening who is not a software developer that's developing with AI, anyone other than those people, don't worry about prompt engineering. Don't worry about it at all. The idea of prompt engineering, like coming up with this amazing prompt that I will say one time and it will do exactly what I want, that's not how we work with people, and we don't need to work like that with generative AI. It's like thinking, I will ask Iyari to help me with his task. I'm going to give her one description and she knows exactly what I want. We don't work like that. We show an example, we do a first draft, we then iterate. We're all experts in this. Don't worry. What I want is for people to not worry about it Because the most important thing anyone can do for themselves right now is upskill and get confidence with this technology. So I don't like scary things like prompt engineering.
Yes, perfect. So would you advise people, because I know ChatGPT has a free version, would you advise people to jump in, have a look to see what it does? Is there any disclaimers with that? Like, what should they be trying to do with something like ChatGPT?
So there are several tools out there. There are similar. So there's ChatGPT, Claude, and Microsoft Copilot, which are similar to each other. Any of them works. And there's another one that I think people should start looking at, or another group. So the first group we talked about, they are general purpose generative AI. You can do anything with them, right? You can ask them to brainstorm on something, or to help you write something, or to help you summarize something, or to help you plan something, or to help you, anything, right? Write a bedtime story. It can help you with anything. The other group is what we're seeing that's happening to search now. So there are tools like Bing and Microsoft Bing and Google Gemini, which is similar as well to the first group I mentioned, and Perplexity. Right now, Perplexity is the one that's doing the best in showing us the new way of search. It has a free version that is fantastic. So when you go to Perplexity, what I suggest to people is whenever you're thinking, let me Google that, stop for a second and go, let me Perplexity that, which is very hard to say fast.
They need a name change.
We need to upgrade our Perplexity to say it well, our ability to talk fast. So what it does is you put your search term, which doesn't have to be like in Google. You can give it some context. You can say, I'm planning dinner tonight with my friend Iyari, and I am vegan. I don't know about her. And we're going to a restaurant. What restaurants are open in this area at this time that will have good vegan food? And it will run a search for me. So it will take all these words that I just said, a lot of words, and it will optimize it into a good search string. And differently to Google, that would now serve me search results, and then I'd click each one and read it. It actually reads them, summarizes them, and gives me a summary with little numbers that are the references, and I can click every paragraph has a reference or a few references, and I can click them and go see where it came from. So you asked about what's the advice for people to get on top. So 2 advice for people to get on top. 1, and it's true for today, and maybe it will change soon. But whenever you're thinking of Googling something, go to Perplexity. It's a free thing, and use that. That's
Give that a try. Yes.
Yeah. And it will guide you. It will give you follow-up prompts. You'll learn how to use it. Number 2, choose one of those other tools. ChatGPT is fantastic. Use that one. Use the free version to try things. But I believe it's very well worth spending the money on a paid account, because then you have more control over your security settings, and you're able to then use it for more tasks because you're not afraid of sharing information.
Okay. So I want to jump on that, because I know that there's lots of people listening that are, really wary of how their data is used. Can you just go into a little bit more detail around the free version versus the paid version in terms of the data? So I know that when I go in and I ask for something, it gives me stuff back. Are you talking about the stuff that comes back to me?
We're talking about the stuff that I'm giving it. So a lot of people ask, if I share something with ChatGPT, is this now in the public domain?
Yes, I have heard of people sharing things like data for it to summarize.
Yeah. So let's imagine I'm an accountant and I'm working on the financials of my client. Or let's imagine that I am, whatever profession I am, and I'm working with some data, with some information. I wouldn't post that publicly. I want to ask ChatGPT to help me with that. Can I post it into ChatGPT? Does that mean that now it will learn that and someone else can say, hey, what's the income of Iyari? And it will know because I work on your tax income. I'm not an accountant. I'm just saying that with ChatGPT, and now it knows. That's one aspect of security. The other aspect of security, like you mentioned, is validating what comes back to us. So if I forget, let's come back to this. So let's focus on the first one. What information I can share with tools like ChatGPT. So typically my blanket suggestion is when you're using free products, don't share private information. That's just Now, get yourself a secure environment and do two things. Pay for an account and do two things. One, look through your settings and see your privacy options. And one of them will be, do not use my data to train your models. Tick that if you're going to share personal information. Number two, look at their privacy policy. Nobody does that. But to be honest, OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, their privacy policy is written in simple English. And if other tools have a privacy policy that's very complex to read, you know what you do? You take it into ChatGPT and you say, I'm trying to understand.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew.
But you don't go, can I share private information with this? Because this is not a good way of using generative AI. It's basic. We want to be sophisticated users. You go, I'm starting to use this tool. This is their privacy policy. I'm thinking of sharing this information, that information. Can you help me understand this privacy policy? And you start asking follow-up questions. And you go, and where did you find that in the document? Because you want to read it and validate. There we come back to validating the information we're receiving back from these tools. So you want to validate that. So you will ask, where did you find that? Based on what? Right? So please, people, start reading those privacy policies. They are not that. The one from OpenAI literally is plain English.
Privacy policy part is usually not that long either. It's not like one of those Apple terms and conditions. Just scrolling through.
And will they be hacked one day and something horrible may happen?
Potentially.
Maybe. But if you're a person who trusts Google or Microsoft with your emails that contain a lot of private information, if you're a person that trusts Xero or QuickBooks Online with your financial information, if you're a person who trusts all these others, then this is just another one like them.
Okay. And you asked me to remind you when the machine then gives, because it is a machine, when ChatGPT gives me my results back, what should I be concerned about there?
Yeah. So what we need to know is that when we use these tools for work, we are accountable for our work. If you sent me a task and I did my work and I give you back my work and say, hey, here, Iyari, I finished it. It's ready for you to look at. And you look at it and you go, Inbal, this doesn't make a lot of sense. And I go, I don't know, the AI wrote it. You're not going to be happy with it, right? So we don't do that.
No. So this is where this whole kind of, a lot of the time when we do work, we don't just do one version when it's important. We might draft something and then we might review it. It might go through a peer review depending on how important it is. Are we sort of talking about that sort of process when we see things come from ChatGPT?
The mindset that I like having is I'm not asking it to do the work for me. I'm asking it to help me with my work. So I am doing my work, but I can use an assistant. I can use a grad. I can even use a coach who knows more than I do. But I'm doing my work and I'm responsible for my work. So I can ask it to reorganize things and I can ask it to brainstorm with me, but I will make the decisions in the end. I can ask it as a coach to rate my work, to suggest improvements, to do all sorts of things, but I will then look at it and validate and decide if I'm showing this to my client now or to my boss. Can I defend every word here? And am I comfortable with this?
Yeah, we don't take advice blindly, right? We consider it, we might add to it, we might put it in a different context, yes.
Yeah, and that's the mindset.
Fantastic. We talked about the ChatGPT group of things that we should get across with Perplexity. I haven't used it, to be honest, so now I'm going to go and use it this afternoon.
Please do. It will make you smile.
I do hear that with this one, it's less about the hallucination and more about how it summarizes, right? So because with the hallucination, it's very, been talked about a lot around language models potentially hallucinating and telling you things that aren't necessarily true and us taking them as true, whereas Perplexity is more about summarizing what it finds, but also giving you the ability to go back to the links, so where the information originated from. So two different things there. So really great.
So Perplexity is more your search and your research tool. Yeah.
Yes.
And ChatGPT and Claude are more your writing tools, organizing information, brainstorming, and all of those. And this is all temporary because we see the ChatGPTs and Geminis and Claudes of the world trying to go into search as well. And I don't know where Perplexity is going to go.
Right? Yes.
But right now, Perplexity is my research tool because I know I can rely on I can see the sources. And the other ones are all of the other things.
Yes.
Tools.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the paying ones. I did want to ask you about paying for subscriptions, right? Because we seem to be entering an era of subscriptions, no matter what it is. You know, what's your advice on where to spend your money?
Well, it depends who you are, what you need. I can share with you what I'm using and spending on. I can share with you what I advise some of my clients to spend, where I advise them to spend, but it really depends on what you're using. And I also wonder if this time that we're now spending money on getting subscriptions to generative AI tools, if this is just a temporary phase, because AI will come into every app we're using. So I don't know if I'm actually going to need a general purpose AI on the side when it will live in every app and it will eventually live on my laptop, on my desktop and see everything I'm doing. So I don't know if we're gonna need that. But right now,
that's the model that we have. Okay, and can you talk a little bit about what that might look like? Because I have heard of what is it called, like the personal version that you can get that can look at your own data as opposed to it sort of scraping from the internet. Is that what you mean by it'll be on my phone?
Are you talking about, help me understand what you're thinking about. So you may be thinking about what we call sort of corporate or enterprise data or enterprise information. So there's the idea that sometimes I go to generative AI and I ask, how do I look after this plant? And I'm looking for general information, right? But sometimes I want to go to AI and ask, where is my project with Iyari standing? What's happening? What's been the last
update or
latest updates? What do I need to do next? Or I want to go into one of my favorites. I want to go into my email or my AI assistant and go, I'm traveling to Port Douglas in a couple of weeks. What's the name of the person that's organizing my flights? I can't search my email without knowing who it is, but I don't remember. Who do I know in this company? What's the status of that project? When am I seeing Iyari again? What is my, So the idea of an AI app that knows my world, it knows a lot about me. And we don't know yet how this is going to happen, but we're seeing early signs of what different firms, software vendors are working on. So we're seeing Microsoft Copilot, for example, if you live in a Microsoft environment, already has one of their Copilots, there's dozens, but one of them that sits in my Microsoft environment, and I can ask a question of the sort that I just mentioned.
Yes.
And it looks through my emails, my Word documents, my Teams messages, my everything around my office.
And if you have SharePoint, I'm assuming SharePoint as well.
It looks at SharePoint, it looks at everything, and it answers. So I can ask, how's my project with Iyari going? And I get the whole list. Well, you sent a message about this, the emails about that. The document is here and it will give me this.
I really love this world. Can we be there now? That would be fabulous. Now, I'm assuming for all of that to work, you don't just need the app, but also to have all that information in those systems, right? And this is where some of those things that you mentioned earlier around moving to the cloud and having the data in sort of, locations that are secure and central will enable that app to then be able to reach in and get the data that it needs to answer you adequately, right? So I can see how all this is coming together.
Sort of, yes. But on the other hand, we thought in the past, historical, like a year ago, that we have to organize our info, right? We did a lot of data projects until 2 years ago, a year ago, we all had data projects where we would organize our information in very structured ways so that it's available for us to report on.
Yes. The hierarchy of the information. Yes.
That seems to be less important now because generative AI deals with information in any form. It doesn't need it to be organized nicely in tables, right?
Yes.
So that's changing a bit.
Wow. Yeah, that's a
And that's
disruption.
one way. Microsoft Copilot is one way that AI is coming into my world and learning about me. There are others too. So if you're a subscribed user to ChatGPT, it has memory now. And every so often when you chat with it, it goes memory updated, memory updated. And every time I do a demo and I go, I'm an accountant, because I'm presenting to accountants, or I'm an optometrist because I'm presenting to optometrists, it goes memory updated. I go, no, I'm not really. I'm just presenting. But
it's not that smart. Did everybody just hear that?
Maybe I should, yeah. But it updates its memory. So now with me, it has a very long memory because I've been using it now for a long time and I use it a lot. And it has all this list of things it knows about me, which is delightful for me because every so often I ask a question and it comes up with information and goes, oh, you might also want to consider it for your project with blah because that's relevant. Oh, I didn't think about that. Thank you. But it knows I'm working on that project. So it starts to know my world. And I imagine that will happen in different ways by different tools, but this is where it's going.
Yes.
AI that knows my world. One of the beautiful examples for that I really enjoy is AI meeting assistants like Otter and Fireflies and Read.ai and many others that join our Zoom meetings and our team meetings and can also record meetings in person and transcribes and
it does summaries as well, doesn't it? I heard.
And then it can do anything that generative AI can do. Yeah. So it can generate summaries. It can have the summaries in multiple forms depending on which kind of meeting it was. Was it a coaching meeting or a sales meeting or whatever project meeting? It was summarized in a different way. And then you can chat with it about your meetings. So I can go, when did I last meet Iyari and what did I promise? Or what's the timeline of the project? Look at my last 3 months of meetings with her. Where are things going? Actually, I was away on holiday and my project manager, Christine, met with Iyari and they worked on stuff. I'm back now. Tell me everything. And it will summarize it for me. So another way that it looks at my life and remembers things for me and becomes part of, and that's the direction we see it going. Right?
Yeah, wow, that sounds amazing. So not only have we moved away from a pure transcript, but we now got an added layer where the tools are able to summarize for us, which I know for some people out there that might be minute-taking lots of meetings, that might be really helpful. But then the next layer, which you talked about there around interacting with the content, being able to ask it questions. And I'm assuming, as you've been talking, that tools like speech recognition and things like Siri are going to be able to get more sophisticated and you can actually potentially have a conversation with the content.
So ChatGPT, I don't know, paid version, I'm not sure anymore what's on the paid and free versions, but on the mobile
we can't
app,
keep up, right? They're updating things all the time.
We don't need to keep up. But on the mobile app, it has voice and it has now advanced voice mode. So I think that advanced voice mode right now is just on a paid version. But it means that when I'm in a car, I can drive and chat with Chatty and brainstorm ideas.
They called it Chatty?
I call it Chatty, and I'm not the only one. And we can brainstorm ideas. We can talk about a project. We can talk about the meeting I'm driving to and help me prepare. I can ask you to remember things and tell me them when I arrive at my destination. And very soon I'll be able to also say, oh yeah, do you know what? That's a really good idea. Can you send a message to Christine to ask her to capture that and do some things with it? Yeah. And the advanced voice mode is now interruptible, and I can ask you to speak faster or slower. I can move languages, by the way, which is not very relevant to most professions, but a lot of fun. I use it to practice my Spanish. You don't even need to tell it. You just start speaking another language and it's happy.
It just recognizes that you're starting to speak Spanish.
You can even mix languages in the same sentence, which I do all the time because I don't know all the words. So I go Spanish, but then I'm missing words. I put them in English.
Oh, you and I need to talk some more because I do that all the time. Well, look, that sounds like I can just start to see and feel how that's going to transform some of what I do today in the workplace. I'm hearing a lot about productivity and, you're talking about a lot of these things from an individual perspective. As a leader, what about my teams? How do I amplify that productivity across my teams at work?
I think that as a leader, you need to think about it in a couple of ways. One is how we embrace this and bring it into the workplace for productivity, like you're saying, and for and to delight our clients and to keep up, right? The other is we're talking about people here, and people right now are a bit concerned. Every other day, there's this new announcement that AI can now do this and it can now do that, and people are worried. So what you can do as a leader for your people is bring them in on the journey, is show them that they work at a workplace that is not going to let them be left on the sideway when everyone's running ahead, right? So I think these are two aspects that as leaders we need to consider and be very mindful of. And I can see in businesses, I come into a lot of businesses, both to coach leaders on how to implement technology and bring it in, or adopt technology and bring it in, and to workshop and coach and train staff. And you can see staff who are worried, afraid. Sometimes the ones that are a bit older are very concerned.
Very worried.
But the younger one too, thinking about their career and how to plan it. How do you plan a career today when we don't know where things are going? All of these, when people are actively engaged, they're hands-on on the tools, they know that they are ahead and they are more comfortable and they feel safe. So as a leader, the best thing you can do for your team today and for your business is to work on creating AI literacy for your team. And in a few months or a few years, or I don't know how fast these things are going, maybe it's a few hours, some of us will have a workforce that's AI literate and confident and knows how to drive these things responsibly and effectively. And some of us will have workforces that are not that. And they're a bit disengaged and they're a bit scared and they don't know what to do with these things. So who do we want?
Yeah.
Right? We want to be.
And Inbal, I'm also hearing that if you take that sort of slow approach, so as you're learning, also help your teams learn, that it won't be so hard when you get there, right? Because you will have already picked up skills and you will have already demystified some of the things that they're hearing. Whereas the other group, if you are going to go and look at upskilling, it's actually going to be a longer and potentially a more expensive exercise, right? Because they haven't been keeping up with the small incremental learning opportunities.
And it's not like a tool that I can show you, hey, let me show you, this is menu 1 and this is menu item 2, and you click here when you want to do this and click there when you want to do that. It's not. It's a text box when I can type anything and get it. So it's about me changing my mindset and learning what is it that I can ask. And how do I ask it for things in a way that I'll get what I want? And how do I validate the responses that I got? So it's training that doesn't happen in an hour. It's being on the tools and changing the way we think.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that takes time because we are human and it is not, but we take time and practice and repetition. Right?
We take time and then a new feature comes in.
Right. But in businesses that bring their teams along, and not only offer some training to get them started, but create an environment where we share ideas with each other, where we share what we learn with each other, tips and tricks and nuggets. We're all in that together. All that overwhelm is replaced with excitement
and curiosity as well, right?
Curiosity and a sense of safety because I am involved. I know what's going on. And when I talk to my friends about these new AI things, I'm using it and I know what's going on. When they're sitting there going, oh my God.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So you did touch on a couple of things there that I just want to scratch under the surface. One is about people being worried about making mistakes and what would you advise? And the other one that you talked about is validation.
So people being worried and making mistakes, we solve that with good leadership. When I present, I do the very, very clever thing of doing live demos, sometimes in conferences with 1,000 people in the room, live demo with an AI tool. They have no idea what it's going to do, right? Yes. Do you think it always goes well? No. It always goes well in the respect that it always gives me an opportunity to show them that it does whatever it wants. and we will deal with it. This is how we work. So we want to normalize, and we want to make everyone safe. Learning. We're all learning. No one's an expert. No one's got 5 years experience in this. It's all new. Learning. So we need to create environments that I like to tell people, because I'm doing a lot of innovation work in businesses, right? And in that, we need to get our leaders to give us budget to try something, but it may work and it may not work. So how do we justify that? And I suggest to think about it a bit like a science experiment. Either it will work and we've got a new automation that works now, for example, or it doesn't work. And now we're smarter because now we have more data and we know that this kind of automation doesn't work for this kind of process and then we'll be smarter for the next one. And I always say that as long as you share this information with the rest of the team, you're good. We all win. We're smarter.
Yes.
Right? So create an environment where it's safe to experiment, it's safe to explore, it's encouraged and it's celebrated when you share your learning. That's what we want.
Yes. An environment of learning. Love it. And in terms of the validation, I think that's a really important step to touch on because we do get concerned about this concept of the tool not telling us accurate things. What are your top tips on validation?
So we need to definitely validate everything we get from these tools. But that's also changing, by the way, because yes, we know that AI has hallucinations. Yeah. But this can be controlled. And we can ask the AI to be more creative or more factual. And software vendors, when they integrate AI capabilities into their software tools, they can control how creative or how factual it will be.
Okay.
And ask when we prompt it and we learn which tool to use for what and what to ask, we can get it to be very factual. And we can ask it for references and we can ask it to show us where it found that information in the original and give us quotes. And then we go and look, because at least right now, ChatGPT will still make things up when we ask for references. It will give us a URL and we go, all right, that's good. No, click the URL. Maybe it's not real. So we want to really check that. Yeah, we want to really check that. And always imagine. So here's what I do. In the beginning of this, when it was relatively new, there was this big story about this big New York lawyer that showed precedents at court and it was all made up by ChatGPT. It wasn't real. And
and he didn't validate it, right? Yes.
And the poor guy, he didn't know that that's how it works. And I feel awful for him because he didn't know that it makes things up. I try to imagine that happened to me and feel so bad about it that my body will remember the fear. I try to imagine that I'm the guy. And from there, whenever I create anything that AI helps me with, I look at it again and go, am I safe sending this to my clients? Am I safe presenting this to my boss? Like I would do with anything that someone did for me, right? If I had an assistant, if I had a grad working with me, if I had a coach giving me advice, we touched on that. I wouldn't just
send it on. No, I would check it first, especially if it's important, right? If it's going to get lots of eyes, if it's going out to the public, if it's going to have your name against it for a period of time because it's going to be published somewhere, you'd be checking, triple checking, you'd be having nightmares of things being accurate, right?
But then the flip side is that it's hard to ask people to always do it because the tool is so fast and so easy to use and so articulate. It sounds so smart that it's a bit hard to keep checking everything. Like I've checked 700 times and it was pretty good. So this one will be good too, right?
Yes.
I presented recently together with the amazing Kendra Vent. She was a leader in AI in Zero, the accounting app. And she said, imagine it's a bit like when you're driving self-driving cars today that have all the abilities and do everything themselves. And they do it pretty damn good. But the human driver is required to be on alert all the time. But our brains are not wired like that. When things go well all the time, 90% of the time, 99.999% of the time, our brains do not stay alert all the time.
No, they've learnt how to short circuit, right?
And yes, it's working. It's so good. I'm just going to check my phone.
That's right. We call it complacency in the workplace when it comes to safety, but your brain is designed to use the least amount of effort possible. And when it sees that something is the same over and over, like a routine, it stops paying attention, right? As much as you would be on alert when you first start driving, for example.
Yeah. So Kendra gives that analogy, and then she talks about flight control centers. And she said they design their systems in a way that recognizes that people can't look at something that's always the same and notice and be on alert all the time. And they design their user interfaces in a way that will get your attention, the human's attention, to what needs attention.
Where
right?
It needs to check.
Our generative AI systems right now, they're not there quite yet. They behave more like the self-driving cars that do it really well most of the time, and we're supposed to. And we need to remember, and maybe with time, they will get designed better and better in ways that alert us to what we need to look at. But right now, in this interim time, we need to make sure we check everything.
That's a really good point. I like the way that you described that. And that tip around thinking about if it was you, if you were the lawyer, given all the press that he's had after his blunder, if you were him, what would you do in using the tools? I like that emotional connection. It's really helpful in ensuring that we're doing what we need to do. So, Inbal, it's been great to have you today. I really want to make sure I ask this before we go. What would your top tips be for listeners to empower themselves?
One, get on the tools. Get on the tools. Get on the tools. Did I say this 3 times? I say it 10 times. Get on the tools. The best thing anyone can do for themselves today is to develop the skill. So you're ready and you're literate and you're in. So just get on the tools. It doesn't matter if you do it well or if you do it not very well. It doesn't matter. Get on the tools to develop your skill. If you're a leader, same thing, but for your team. Give them a safe environment where they can explore. Encourage them to explore, celebrate them for exploring, but to give them a safe environment to explore, there are some things that they need. So yes, I think they need paid accounts, and we can talk about which ones. Talk to me. They need accounts because they need accounts where it is safe for them, and they don't need to worry all the time. Did I share? Did I not share? Did I remove all the names? I need to remove the names. It's going to take me longer to do it with AI than I just do it myself. Give them the tools they need. Give them paid accounts, secure accounts. Give them some training to get them started. People who start with AI, sort of the 3 blockers that I often see. I don't know which tool to use. I don't know where to start. I don't know if I'm allowed. Am I cheating if I use AI? And I don't know how it applies to my work. These are all easy to solve, right? Get them started with some hands-on training in a room with a big smile and making them feel safe. Am I allowed? Yes, you're allowed. You're encouraged, and it's celebrated here. It's actually expected now that you do your work more efficiently with AI. And how does it apply to my work? Give them networks of people that will share ideas on how they're using it. So these are all solvable problems. So as a leader, your job is to give a safe environment for your team to develop their skill. This is today. Maybe next year is more about bringing in automations. Maybe we will have AI-powered team members. Maybe we'll have all these new things. We'll talk about them when they are mature enough. For us, early majority. For now, early majority is upskill.
Yes, fantastic. So don't worry about the other part just yet. We're not there yet to apply into the workplace. Get your teams learning. And obviously, if you need help and you have large teams, Inbal is here to help. Get in contact with her. She does this day in, day out, and is fantastic at what she does. So thank you, Inbal, for joining us today. It was really great to talk to you about adoption of tech and making it really practical for our listeners to get started.
Fantastic. Thank you.
thanks for listening today. Do keep in mind that this is a podcast for informational purposes, and all we're really doing is sharing our opinions on things that matter to us. With that being said, if you liked what you heard and want to continue supporting us, share this podcast with your network to help us grow and bring on even more guests. Until next time, this is Iyari from EmpowerTech, signing off.